Live Better Longer. I'm your host, Bill Borton. Money, wealth, assets, words that we hear a lot about these days. My guest, Jay Cherney, is a psychologist with more than 35 years of experience as a clinician, facilitator, mediator, and speaker. His professional mission is to strengthen relationships and to improve the facilitation of family wealth transfer through conversations about money and wealth as more than just money. Jay, welcome.
Thanks a lot. Thanks for having me.
Jay, you have quite a different approach to advising than most financial advisors.
Yeah.
How long have what you've been doing been around? How long have people been aware of what you're doing?
Yeah, I think it's a fairly new but growing cadre of professionals, maybe 15 years or so, that people have been trying to integrate the psychological perspective, the emotional perspective into financial advising. Mm-hmm. And that's a tricky business.
So do you work with clients directly or with financial advisors or both?
Yeah, I do both. I actually typically begin to work with an advisor and help them start the conversation with the client about the meaning and purpose of money. And then when it gets to a point where the skills of the advisor fall short, they invite me in and I continue and go deeper with that client and the client's family.
My experience has been that many of the financial advisors that I talk with and collaborate with may be very good at managing money and building portfolios, but aren't so comfortable having what I call the conversation about what matters most with their clients.
Yes, that's a very emotional conversation. It's a very personal conversation. And the skills, the technical skills are really important, but it really benefits the client when those technical skills are merged with these personal skills and allows really the role of the advisor to expand to a new level.
So I guess in some cases you're actually helping the advisor to be a little bit more like you, and in other cases the advisor is simply putting you in front of the client.
Yes, I mean it's self-awareness is really one of the key dimensions of what I do. So I think it's important for an advisor to know their money story, to know their purpose and values around money as a way of having that conversation with the client.
Mm-hmm. So what I'm hearing more and more these days is that financial advisors are going to have to change how they get compensated. I know there was a lot of attention raised by the DOL rule, which is now defunct, but fees and what clients are getting for the money that they pay is becoming more and more of an issue. And so if you're simply managing portfolios, anybody can do that.
Right.
But theoretically anybody can do that. But being a true advisor and being able to address the softer issues, the familial issues, the money issues, the emotional issues is becoming more and more important. And if you're going to justify the fees that you're charging, you need to be able to figure out how to do that.
Right. It's really differentiating yourself beyond just the technical skills, which are sort of commodified. And another big advantage for advisors in using this kind of approach is because wealth transfer is one of the big questions, and that's happening on a scale unprecedented these days. And when an advisor opens up a conversation that brings in the next generation, say the adult children, they start to bond with that next generation, which is a big advantage for them moving forward.
Well, it increases the chances that they're going to be able to hold on to the money when mom and dad are gone.
Right, and so often, I don't remember the exact statistics, but so often when the first generation dies, the next generation says, well, that's Dad's advisor. I want my own different advisor, and I'm going to go elsewhere.
Which is a real challenge.
Yes.
So you've been doing this for how long?
About 10 years.
Okay, and what was it that caused you to get into this?
Well, I had an interesting, opportunity through networking. I connected with an entrepreneur who had been to a group called Tiger 21 in New York, which is a peer learning group for high net worth entrepreneurs. And he went to that and he learned a lot, but he felt they were too focused just on learning investing, which was important. He was concerned about the effect of wealth on his kids. So through his network, we gathered 6 youngish entrepreneurs, 30s and 40s, and met for the year of 2008, which was an interesting year to begin to do this.
I would say.
And I facilitated that group. We called it Wealth 360, which then became the name of my consulting practice. And we talked about the meaning of wealth in their lives and the impact it has on their lives and the lives of their kids, because they were very concerned about the potentially negative effects of significant wealth on their kids.
Well, if an individual hasn't been responsible for acquiring the wealth on his or her own,
Right.
and it's been handed over by a parent, we have all heard many stories about how that works out.
Entitlement is a nasty idea.
And just because you have 2 or 3 children doesn't mean that they're the same in any way.
No, that's right. Everybody has their own particular money story and money style. There's a family, a general family money story based on the core values that are acting out in the family, but there are differences, and those differences need to be recognized and understood and managed, because those differences can cause nasty breakups, nasty conflicts, and so often, I mean, that's really the big danger. There's the proverb, shirt sleeves to shirt sleeves in 3 generations, because so often, and that's a proverb that's throughout many cultures and has been known for a long time, that the first generation earns a lot of wealth, the second generation enjoys that wealth, and the third generation has none, because they haven't trained themselves or managed the emotions around it and managed the family dynamics and the family conflicts. And that's what is the biggest danger to maintaining wealth.
Well, when people don't talk about these things, not much good can come from that.
That's right. That's right.
Well, we're going to take a break for a word from our sponsors. We'll be back in a moment with more Live Better Longer. I'm your host, Bill Borton, here with Jay Cherney.
Hi, I'm Christine Patton, the Juice Girl. The Champion Juicer has been my juicer of choice for years. Whether I'm making a glass of juice or a large batch of juice for my juice bar. These juicers are simple to use and so easy to clean. Champion juicers are masticating, cold-pressed juicers. 2 models are available, the Classic 2000 and the new Elite 4000. Besides juicing, both models can make frozen fruit, smoothies, nut butters, sauces, and even baby food. The Elite 4000 Champion Juicer also excels at juicing greens and wheatgrass. These juicers deserve to be called the world's finest. For more information, please visit my website at juicegirlpharmacy.com or championjuicer.com.
When did you see the sign?
When I needed to jumpstart sales.
Build attendance for an event.
Help people find their way. Fast Signs designed new directional signage.
And got them back on track. Get started at fastsigns.com.
I'm Casey Price, host of a brand new show on RVN TV called Justice for All. Tune in every Tuesday at 1 p.m. as some of South Jersey's amazing attorneys share their stories and important legal information that could affect you and the people you love. Remember, that's in Justice for All, every Tuesday at 1 p.m., only on RVN TV.
Welcome back to Live Better Longer. I'm your host, Bill Borton, here with psychologist Jay Cherney. So Jay, what do you mean when you say wealth beyond money?
Yes, it's the meaning and purpose that money has, which is really about a person's and a family's core values and their purpose in life. And that means with their purpose with money. And the way I try to develop that and help develop self-awareness of that is what I call the money story. Everybody's got a money story. It's a set of attitudes, beliefs, emotions, meanings about money. And everybody has a relationship with money. They expect certain things from money, which often money can't deliver.
Some of those things we may be consciously aware of, and some may be buried pretty deep.
That's right.
From
That's right.
our formative years with mom and dad.
Exactly. That's when the money story gets written. It's through the experiences and the meaning that that person makes of those experiences. So let me give you a quick overview of how that process works. It starts off with two main questions, which then take a lot of time to unpack and peel back. The first question is, when you were a kid and you first understood, oh, there's this thing called money and it operates in the world, what was going on around money? How was money talked about? How was money treated in the family? And the second big question is, what's been the most satisfying, fulfilling, meaningful use of money in your life at any time in your life? So those are really big questions.
Yeah, they could open up pretty big cans of worms too.
Oh, they do. Yes, they do. Well, that's the idea. That's what I'm trying to do. So let me give you a quick thumbnail sketch of my money story. It's the case I know best of all, obviously.
Yeah.
And so so I grew up in New York. I have two older sisters, and my parents were civil servants. My dad was an IRS agent. My mom was a school teacher. So we were doing okay. We were never hungry, of course. We never really considered ourselves poor. But my parents came of age in the Great Depression, which had a big, big impact on almost everybody. So there was a model of scarcity in our house. For example, one day, I was maybe 8 years old, I had $5 in my pocket, I lost it. That was a major catastrophe. I got really reamed out seriously. Losing $5, horrible. So there was this anxiety about money. And just really quickly, money stories are multi-generational. My grandparents were immigrants around the turn of the last century from Poland and what is now Ukraine. And they came searching for a better life. And education was one of the main pathways to make it in America. So that's why education became a really important thing for me. And so the answer to the second question of my most fulfilling, satisfying use of money was paying for my daughter's college, which was a lot of money, the biggest outlay of money. I was happy to do it. Whereas in other ways, my money story is about scarcity. I still have that scarcity model embedded. And sometimes I can obsess over a small purchase. Do I really need it? Is it really okay? So that's been my process of working through that and being aware of those old stories operating on me and trying to get a little bit of distance, emotional distance, to make decisions that fit the situation now.
I think your situation and mine are not that unusual.
Okay.
Because our parents were from the same generation and the greatest generation who grew up during the Depression didn't talk about their feelings, didn't talk about money.
Right.
And so your earliest memories, I can remember sitting around the dinner table and hearing, your father doesn't have a printing press in the basement. Money doesn't grow on trees.
Exactly. Right.
And then there was always the biggie, people who have money either inherited it or stole it.
Yes, it's very interesting because that was the same impression I got about people with money. They're bad, and that's a money story that, again, I still have in me. Although of course I've had many experiences that go against that idea, and so money stories are embedded and constantly evolve. Ideally, they evolve in some better directions, directions that fit the person's life better.
Well, being personally aware and being committed throughout your life to becoming a better you is something that I know you and I both ascribe to.
Yes.
Not
yes.
everybody does.
Well, that's true. That's true. But when, when an advisor faces a family and you can see the family dynamics are very tense, there's a need there. There's a danger of that tension ending up blowing families apart. And that's another part of my money story. And one of the ways I came to this work is when my grandfather died. My grandfather lived with us. When I was 8 years old, he died. And he had a little bit of money. I don't even know the amount. In today's terms, almost nothing. But my mother and her sister and brother fought over that money, and we broke up as a family. We stopped seeing our cousins who lived right up the street. That was another powerful message about money. Money is almost dangerous. Money has so much power to harm relationships. So that's a big part of why I enjoy this work, is I can contribute to families getting steered away from those kinds of disasters.
Similar experience in my family. My father's much older brother passed away. His widow and my mother pretty much did in that family relationship as well over the inheritance.
Yeah.
It's a shame.
Yeah.
So we're going to take another break for a word from our sponsor, and we'll be right back with more Live Better Longer. I'm Bill Borton.
When did you see the sun?
When I needed to jumpstart sales.
Build attendance for an event.
Help people find their way. Fast Signs design new directional signage.
And got them back on track. Get started at fastsigns.com.
Welcome to Live Better Longer, the show for baby boomers who want to improve and even extend their retirement years. I'm your host, Bill Borton. On Live Better Longer, our viewers meet and learn from a wide variety of experts and thought leaders who share their knowledge on subjects ranging from portfolio management to nutrition management, from insurance, Social Security, and reverse mortgages, to annuities, Medicare, and Roth IRA conversions. Not just thought-provoking and actionable information, but why it's important to you. Tune in every Tuesday at 11 on RVN TV for reliable and unbiased information from experts in their field who are committed to helping you live better longer.
Is your business growing and now you need a new and bigger building? Has your organization outgrown their facility and now it's time to expand? Do your hobbies require the need for more space? If you're paying rent, but now you want the advantages of owning, the prospect of financing, construction, and on-time completion may seem out of your reach. General Steel Corporation has the answer. A pre-engineered steel building from the General will not only look great and satisfy almost any need, but you'll save time and money. Our team will help you create your building and deliver it to your location. We offer design services to help you present your concept to board members, bankers, or for fundraising. And the General can even help with financing. General Steel is a name you know, with quality backed by a 50-year structural warranty. Call today and find out how easy it is to have the building you want. You may even save up to $20,000 with rebates. If you need space, you need the General.
Welcome back to Live Better Longer. I'm your host, Bill Borton, here with psychologist Jay Cherney. So Jay, if somebody would like to talk to you about having that conversation about money, or suggest that you meet their financial advisor to help them with that conversation, what's the best way to get in touch with you?
Yeah, they could email me at jay@wealth360network.com.
That's Jay, J-A-Y, at wealth360network.com.
All one word.
Wonderful,
Right.
great.
Right.
So Jay, tell us about your approach when you first meet with clients.
Yeah. Well, often the starting point is with a couple. It can be with an individual, but I really think it's advantageous to have the couple go through the process together, because different money stories cause tension in marriages. And
I've never experienced that.
Yeah, I know. I realize. There are lots of exceptions. And so when I work with a couple and go through their money story together, one of the really nice results that happens is the wife, let's say, will say, oh, now I still hate the way you spend money hand over fist, but now at least it makes sense based on the way you grew up and what you learned about money. I don't like it, but at least it makes some kind of sense. And that's the beginning of working better together and starting to make more collaborative decisions, which I think are generally advantageous, because then both partners are buying in and working together.
So then where does it go from there?
Well, if they have kids, adult kids or even grandkids, the ultimate goal is to have a family meeting or a series of family meetings to really prepare for the transfer of wealth. So often when there's a will and the generation 2 or 3 really doesn't know much about the money, which is unfortunately the most common situation, and the patriarch or matriarch dies, they were the glue holding the family together. People were being polite because they wanted to please mom or pop. When that person is gone, that often releases old tensions, old competitions, old jealousies. People felt like, oh, I wasn't treated as well as my sister, and they now see the opportunity to fix that or win. So the goal is to have a conversation which brings to the surface and clarifies the overall family values, core values, purpose, what's important to that family, as well as, so there's an overall one that people agree on, but then there are the differences. And those differences need to be honored and appreciated and understood and managed together. And that's when family continuity can be strengthened, and people can use the money in the way that makes most sense to them, individually and together.
This process sounds like it could take quite a while, because you have to get the couple to sit down first, and that may be more than just one meeting or conversation.
Yeah.
Then you have to get agreement to bring the adult children in, and they may not all be around the corner, and they have busy schedules and busy lives.
Yes.
So I can imagine this whole process can take quite some time.
It can. It can take a lot of logistics to get people together. But the message I try to keep sending out is, you want your family to stay together. That's the hope of almost all of us with families. Family is so centrally important in our lives. And the idea that a family might fall apart is one of the most painful ideas that people face. If I can let people know that having these meetings, as uncomfortable as they might be, as difficult as they might be, the outcome is incredibly valuable.
So can you share an example or a story about what you would consider to be maybe the most typical client situation?
Yeah. All right. Recently, I met with a dad and his 3 adult children in their 40s. The dad's retired, and he sensed that there was tension in the family. One of the areas of tension was one of the kids was living in an apartment that the dad owned, and because he'd been through a divorce, he'd been through some financial difficulties, and there was tension with the other 2, like, hey, why is he getting an advantage, and what am I getting? So that was the trigger point that we could talk about, and try to make the conversation bigger than that. Try to understand what that tension was about, but then broaden the conversation to, okay, what's really important about this family, and what holds this family together? And the dad came up with some ideas. He was thinking about starting a nonprofit that the kids would buy into, and sort of collaborate together on that, have that shared interest as a way of keeping the family connected and working together.
And so did they reach some consensus?
Yes. Yes. It took a while. It took a few meetings over the course of a number of months. These things are not quickly resolved, but the value of sitting there in contact face to face and talking about these big questions is something that just doesn't happen on its own typically.
No.
You need a force to bring this together and facilitate the conversation.
Well, another friend of mine always says, people don't mind change, but they hate being changed. And so
like that.
having a
That's good.
conversation
Yeah.
with an unemotional third party
Right.
who has had experience in all this
Yeah.
could make all the difference.
Yeah.
Well, we've run out of time. Again, this is Bill Borton with Live Better Longer with my guest Jay Cherney. I hope you've enjoyed this week's episode. If any of you would like to speak with Jay, I would encourage you to do so. Again, he can be reached at
Wealth360network.com.
Great. Thanks, Jay.
Thank you very
Appreciate
much,
coming
Bill.
on.
Sure.
I'll be back next Tuesday at RVN TV with more Live Better Longer. I'm your host, Bill Borton.